The next item on the agenda is Kyrgyzstan homosexual propaganda bill. First speaker is Madam Lunacek. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, President, High Representative, dear colleagues. First of all, let me say that Kyrgyzstan is the country in Central Asia that has achieved most progress in its democratic development over the last years. It also has decriminalized male homosexuality in 1998, and that is positive things that we respect in the resolution we're preparing, or we have prepared. But we also know that the situation still is very difficult. Human Rights Watch report in January 2014 found widespread violence by police against LGBT people. There are time and again political and religious leaders who speak out against same-sex relations, against lesbians and gays. And now, on 15th of October, the Kyrgyz parliament has passed, at first reading, a draft bill which contains amendments to the criminal code, the code of administrative responsibility, the law on peaceful assembly, the law on mass media, aimed at prohibiting the promotion of non-traditional sexual relations in an open or indirect way, and providing for up to 1 year of imprisonment. And that means they are prohibiting talking about facts of human life. This will have huge consequences for journalists. If they write about the existence of lesbians and gays, they might go to prison for 1 year. Human rights NGOs, the fight against HIV and AIDS, and of course specifically to lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender people who will face more discrimination and violence, as we have seen in other countries where similar bills have led. I really would like to ask from the European Parliament, Kyrgyz MPs, people fall in love with whoever they fall in love with. You don't decide on that. It can happen to your daughter, to your son. It happens in families, in parliaments, in ministries, in sports associations. So please, don't put lesbians and gays into jail for living a life that has been happening all over this world, in all cultures, in all regions. Please respect your own constitution, respect the recommendations in the Council of Europe Partnership of Democracy status that you have, that clearly asks for non-discrimination of sexual orientation. And let me also thank all those shadows and the parliamentarians of all 7 groups in this House who have come together to formulate this resolution together. I really too hope that the Parliament of Kyrgyzstan will take this law off the agenda and let lesbians and gays live freely also in Kyrgyzstan. Thank you very much.
Madam Becerra, 1 minute and a half.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Mogherini, laws which deny or provide derogations from human rights and freedoms won't be adopted in the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. That's Article 16 of the Kyrgyz Constitution. Today, we need to send a clear message asking the Republic of Kyrgyzstan to step back, to respect its constitution and stop this process of criminalizing homosexuality which is happening in that country. Let me remind the Kyrgyz authorities that as far as human rights and respect for fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of thought, conscience, religion and belief, are a crucial element in the cooperation and collaboration agreement between them and the EU. And they need to remember that they will be violating that if they move this law forward. We've seen the terrible consequences of a law which is like this in Russia. We're asking the Kyrgyz not to follow the road of state-sponsored homophobia. Let's raise our voice against this, like the thousands of citizens who in one single day have raised their voices against its affront to human rights. There's also a petition against this in Kyrgyzstan with hundreds of thousands of signatures, the defense of fundamental rights and freedom. Every citizen needs to be able to benefit from this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Demesmaeker, 1 minute.
Dank u wel.
Thank you.
Collega's, Kyrgyzije is eigenlijk een
Kyrgyzstan
baken van
is
hoop in een regio waar de staatshoofden zonder uitzondering ex-Sovjet-despoten zijn. Het land heeft een bloeiende civiele samenleving en kon 2 corrupte presidenten verjagen. Maar wij maken ons bijzonder ongerust over deze nieuwe discriminerende wetgeving. Deze anti-LGBTI-wet dreigt de democratische en grondwettelijke verwezenlijkingen van het land onderuit te halen. is undermining the achievements of the country on democracy and constitutionality, and if it comes into force, it will be at the expense of essential human rights like equality, free expression, and the right to be protected against discrimination and violence. So I think that we and you, Mrs. Mogherini, must call on the Kyrgyz parliament and the president to think when they are discussing this legislation about the direction the country wants to take. Does it want to continue to copy legislation of the European Parliament with the support of the Kyrgyz Grand Mufti, or does it want to preserve freedom in Central Asia? I hope it will choose the latter.
Mr. Weidenholzer, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. The Kyrgyz government claims to be a parliamentary democratic system. They have signed up to the International Human Rights Conventions, and they are in a constant dialogue with the European Union. I think that the dialogue has been very positive. There's been a lot of progress. There has also been an effort to set up a proper independent judicial system. So I think that this is all to be praised. However, I think it can be a surprise that the Kyrgyz government or parliament is deciding to restrict rights for people with non-traditional sexual relationships. Now, the human rights conventions are not a Father Christmas list where you could just pick the things you like. We want to call upon Kyrgyzstan to reconsider the planned legislation. Thank you very much.
1 minute. Mr. Kellam.
Thank you. It's the first time in my memory that the High Representative has attended urgency debates. It's highly inspirational for our further cooperation, especially after your yesterday evening's ordeal. But as for Kyrgyzstan, we must also have in mind that this country has achieved considerable parliamentary democracy, progress in that way. And the resolution in question has for me a preventive message, as a draft law has not yet been adopted, and we address the possible damage to the equality and security of same-sex people. The positive sign is that Kyrgyzstan authorities have already reacted to the EP draft in a cooperative way. The latest message we have got is that the bill in question has been considerably changed, with interested NGOs involved in preparing the final text. Hopefully, it will not present any real threat to the security and equal rights of LGBTI people. But of course, we continue to watch the developments carefully. At the same time, we should welcome the progress made by Kyrgyzstan in the domain of human rights in cooperation and joint dialogue with the European Union. Thank you.
Madam Björk, 1 minute.
Now, despite the progress in Kyrgyzstan, the country now risks joining the list of countries that are denying rights to gay, lesbian or intersex people. I think that this is really just an imaginary enemy. You see the same situation in other countries. In France, hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets in absolutely ridiculous protests against non-conventional families. There's so much violence and hatred out there and so little love. They're just trying to invent enemies when there is so much else that we have to fight against. We need an inclusive society that doesn't oppress any of its component parts. We need a society that works properly with welfare, environmental sustainability, and why not happiness and love as well. So I think it's absolutely irresponsible to oppress the rights of gay and lesbian people, and I think it's unworthy. Thank you.
Děkuji, paní místopředsedkyně. Já bych chtěl poukázat na to, že Kyrgyzstán v nedávné době opustil ostudnou kriminalizaci osob jiné sexuální orientace. Je sice s podivem, že ženy mohly být za svou sexuální orientaci trestně stíhány ještě i 6 let po mužích, nicméně i já vítám demokratický pokrok v Kyrgyzstánu, který byl dosažen v uplynulých několika letech. Přes tato dílčí zlepšení situace jsou zde v loňském roce návrhy zákonů proti údajnému šíření homosexuality. Je to nepochybně krok zpět. Tyto zákony jsou jistě inspirovány ruským vzorem a jsou nešťastné. Namísto toho, aby mladým lidem společnost pomáhala uvědomit si své vlastní směřování, překonat problémy třeba odmítnutí jejich nejbližších, ještě dále tuto situaci zhoršuje. Pokud si kyrgyzský parlament myslí, že hlavním problémem jeho země jsou osoby s menšinovou sexuální orientací, tak ji hluboce lituji. Věřím, že paní Mogherini najde čas pro řešení tohoto naléhavého problému.
Madam Fajon, 1 minute.
Hvala lepa. Žalosti me, da smo na dnevni red zaradi kršitev človekovih pravic, demokracije in načel pravne države uvrstili še eno državo, kjer so pravice LGBT skupnosti močno ogrožene. Kirgizija v zadnjih letih naredila znaten napredek. Kljub temu je demokracija v državi še vedno krhka. Osnutek sprejetega protipropagandnega zakona je resnično korak v napačno smer. Zastraševanje ranljivih skupin strani medijev, javnosti, političnih in verskih voditeljev pa je nevredno za demokracijo. Danes državi in celotni regiji pošiljamo zelo jasen signal, da je kakršnakoli diskriminacija na podlagi spolne usmerjenosti nesprejemljiva. Svoboda govora pa ne sme in ne more biti nikoli ogrožena. Dogodki preteklega tedna so ponovno opozorili, da svoboščine niso samoumevne. Na koncu zato glasno pozivam vse pristojne, naj se vzdržijo dejanj, ki bi te še nadalje ogrozile, ranljive skupine pa še bolj potisnile na rob družbe. Hvala lepa.
Madam Sandra, 1 minute.
Obrigada, Presidenta.
Thank you, Madam President.
A homossexualidade não deve ser considerada propaganda. É uma orientação sexual. E nenhum ser humano deve ser perseguido ou sofrer violência pela sua orientação sexual, a sua identidade de género ou a expressão do mesmo. Nenhuma pessoa lésbica, gay, bissexual, transexual ou intersexual deverá ser criminalizada nem obrigada a esconder-se. Não podemos olhar para outro lado ou calar perante nenhuma lei que em qualquer parte do mundo ataque a dignidade e a liberdade das pessoas pola sua identidade de género, pola sua identidade sexual ou por expressá-la. Não podemos permitir nenhum retrocesso nos direitos das pessoas LGBTI. O Kyrgyzstan deve dar cumprimento do que diz na sua própria Constituição. Nenhuma lei que negue os direitos humanos e as liberdades civis deve ser adotada. Obrigada.
Mr. Corrao, 1 minute.
Grazie Presidente.
Thank you very much,
A me
President.
sembra abbastanza assurdo che nel 2015 ancora ci troviamo a dover discutere di leggi che discriminano l'orientamento sessuale o l'identità di genere ed è veramente brutto pensare che in 78 paesi al mondo questo rappresenta un reato, quindi essere far parte della comunità LGBT, e che in altri 40 paesi del mondo questa comunità subisce violazioni e discriminazioni. Noi stiamo parlando di una proposta di legge del Parlamento del Kyrgyzstan che viene rappresentato da molti colleghi come una democrazia parlamentare in progresso e che hanno presentato una legge del genere che è assolutamente medievale, quindi dovremmo esercitare la nostra forza diplomatica anche attraverso l'alto rappresentante che è qui presente in aula per far capire al Parlamento kirghizo che è assolutamente inaccettabile portare avanti delle leggi del genere che discriminano un diritto umano, perché il diritto ad amare è semplicemente un diritto umano. Grazie.
Whoever you wish to. That's a human right. Thank you very much.
Madam Kozłowska, 1 minute.
Pani Przewodnicząca, Wysoka Przedstawiciel Pani Mogherini, rezolucja, którą za chwilę będziemy głosować, wzywa kirgiski parlament do wycofania projektu ustawy zakazującej tzw. promocji homoseksualizmu. Ta ustawa jest wzorowana na rosyjskiej ustawie z 2013 roku, jest sprzeczna z międzynarodowymi standardami ochrony praw człowieka, narusza wolności obywatelskie i godność człowieka. Tego rodzaju przepisy były wielokrotnie potępiane przez liderów ONZ, Unię Europejską i organizacje chroniące praw człowieka. Już samo procedowanie tej ustawy w Kirgistanie nasiliło akty nietolerancji, agresji i przemocy wobec osób nieheteroseksualnych, gdyż ta praca w parlamencie jest odczytywana jako przyzwolenie, a nawet zachęta władz, najwyższych władz państwa do gorszego traktowania osób LGBT. Kirgistan depenalizował homoseksualizm w 1998 roku i uchwalenie tej ustawy zniweczyłoby osiągnięty postęp oraz nasiliło postawy pogardy i nienawiści wobec mniejszości seksualnych, które są obce demokratycznym państwom prawa.
Human rights and basic democratic freedoms in this country.
Madam Dali, 1 minute.
Grazzi, Chair, Vice President Mogherini. Li fis-sena 2015 għatanna nies li jridu jaħbu l-orjentazzjoni sessuali tagħhom għaliex inkella jispiċċaw il-persegwitati mhuwiex aċċettabbli. Aktar u aktar meta dik il-persekuzzjoni ssir mill-awtoritajiet jew addirittura mill-pulizija li suppost jipproteġu lil dawn iċ-ċittadini. Li jkollok gvern fil-Kirgistan jippreżenta bozza liġi biex jikkriminalizza it-tixrid ta' informazzjoni dwar orjentazzjonijiet sessuali differenti imur
sexual orientation goes beyond that, and this must be greatly condemned. A bill which not only attacks the LGBTI but also the journalists, puts them in a situation where they may face 1 year of imprisonment if found guilty of forming a positive attitude towards non-traditional relationships. I will not dwell on traditional, but there are people who say that these people are ill psychologically. We must condemn this reasoning that we, in a world where no form of discrimination should be accepted, including discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation.
1 minute.
Grazie Presidente e gentile Alto Rappresentante. Proibizione della promozione di relazioni sessuali non tradizionali. Un tentativo linguistico mal riuscito di mascherare un'assurda discriminazione. Fatico ancora a credere che nel terzo millennio sia ancora possibile finire in carcere per un anno semplicemente per voler essere se stessi. È già intollerabile che vi siano discriminazioni striscianti nella società. Immaginarsi che se uno Stato ad arrogarsi tale diritto, tra l'altro in violazione della sua stessa Costituzione all'articolo 16,
also, of course, violating Article 60 of their own constitution. So it's absolutely insane.
Nell'Asia centrale,
And it's actually
avendo
one of
depenalizzato
the
l'omosessualità maschile nel 97 e quella femminile nel 2004. In molti casi si rifugiavano lì, fuggendo dal Turkmenistan e dall'Uzbekistan. Adesso non hanno più alcun porto sicuro. Io credo che noi tutti dobbiamo schierarci contro questa bozza, contraria non solo ai diritti umani ma al buon senso, e mettere pressione sul Kyrgyzstan per tornare sui giusti binari. Dobbiamo sostenere la sua vivace società civile e ricordare al governo kirghizo che per avere relazioni solide e sane con l'Unione bisogna fare proprio anche lo spirito del nostro motto, unità nella diversità.
Respect what we say in our motto, unity in diversity. Thank you.
Mr. Bettini, 1 minute. Oh, sorry. I'll come back. Mr. Pospíšil, 1 minute.
Děkuji pěkně, paní předsedkyně. K tomu tématu zde bylo hodně řečeno. Já pouze řeknu, že jsem velmi rád, že tento bod zde dneska projednáváme a že vysoká představitelka paní Mogherini může slyšet naše jednoznačné a jasné názory k tomuto bodu. Já stejně jako ostatní vnímám Kyrgyzstán jako zemi, která ve střední Asii udělala největší pokroky v cestě za demokracii. O to je horší, že dneska na stole kyrgyzského parlamentu leží tento středověký zákon. Bohužel zde vnímám velmi silný vliv Ruska, který které podobný zákon již přijalo. A praxe tohoto zákona jasně ukazuje, jak výrazně může být proti menšinám zneužíván a jak výrazně lidská práva potlačuje. A to si prosím uvědomme, že tento kyrgyzský zákon, návrh zákona, je ještě horší než ten, který platí dneska v Rusku, protože za šíření a propagaci a projevu svobody slova může být někdo odsouzen do vězení až na 1 rok. Prosím, odsuďme tento zákon a v případě, že bude přijat, je jasné, že se mu dále musíme věnovat a musí Evropská unie vůči Kyrgyzstánu zaujmout jasnou pozici, a to i v podobě případného ochladnutí vztahů. Děkuji.
Now, Mr. Bettini, 1 minute.
Presidente, l'Unione Europea ha concentrato molte risorse nello sviluppo del Kyrgyzstan e oggi tuttavia discutiamo un progetto di legge aberrante proposto da quel governo sulla diffusione di informazioni sui rapporti sessuali non tradizionali. È una proposta che va contro i nostri principi. Su questi temi non si scherza. Sono fondanti la nostra idea di libertà e dei diritti. Ognuno deve poter esprimere se stesso senza subire minacce o limiti, tranne quelli di non dover fare del male ad altri esseri umani. E poi il diritto di esprimere i propri orientamenti sessuali non è una concessione ai cosiddetti diversi, ma un arricchimento della società, della sua vita complessiva, che sceglie di non mutilare una parte delle sue energie e delle sue potenzialità. Grazie.
Thank you. Madame Adinolfi, 1 minute.
Grazie Presidente.
Thank you, Madam
Alcuni potrebbero
President.
domandarci perché sentiamo il bisogno di scrivere questa risoluzione. Potrebbero obiettare dicendo che non è interessante occuparsi di un paese sperduto nel cuore dell'Asia. Ci interessiamo, cari colleghi, perché il compito dell'Unione Europea, di questa istituzione che è frutto di migliaia di anni di storia, è anche quello di proteggere il principio di uguaglianza e la non discriminazione delle persone. È per questo che esprimo la mia più ferma deplorazione per l'approvazione in prima lettura da parte del Parlamento del Kyrgyzstan della legge sul divieto di promuovere direttamente e indirettamente relazioni sessuali non tradizionali.
Direct or indirect promotion of non-traditional sexual relations. We can't avert our gaze in this campaign of clearly homophobic discrimination. All too often Europe has subordinated its respect for human rights to economic considerations, and that's why we hope that the European institutions will officially recall ask the Kyrgyz Parliament to withdraw this law. Thank you.
Well, no catch the eye today because we are delayed. I give the floor to Vice President Mogherini, please.
Thank you, President. And let me say that yes, I've been told this is the first time a High Representative takes part to the urgency debates on human rights. But that's exactly because I believe that human rights are a crucial part of our foreign policy. But also let me stress, I was told that urgency debates on human rights are normally not attended by the High Representative. I think that it is my duty and also my interest being here, as human rights are a crucial part of foreign policy. I said that and I meant that. And let me also say that we will have to work on the coherence of our internal policies on human rights, because today we are debating something extremely important of countries that are not our own member states, but our internal work on human rights and in particular on LGBTI we have to be coherent also internally. The Parliament of the Kyrgyz Republic is working on a legislation that would discriminate against the LGBTI community, and we regret that the draft law has been approved at the first reading out of the 3 necessary for final adoption. This draft legislation, if adopted, would restrict freedom of expression and association. And the title of the law, on the promotion of a positive attitude towards non-traditional sexual relations, is totally misleading. In reality, it is designed to undermine efforts by human rights NGOs, including LGBTI organisations, to advocate for equal treatment for LGBTI people. Since this legislative initiative was initially proposed in March last year, the European Union has raised its concern about the draft law and to insist on the principle of non-discrimination, including in the Human Rights Dialogue in April 2014 and in subsequent high-level discussions with the Parliament and the government of the Kyrgyz Republic. The EU has reminded the Kyrgyz authorities of the guarantees for freedom of expression and non-discrimination in the Kyrgyz constitution, as it was mentioned before, and of the Kyrgyz Republic international commitments. A joint letter from heads of missions and of the EU ambassadors together to the Speaker of the Parliament in June was sent, and during the Cooperation Council meeting last November the point was raised. During the Cooperation Council meeting, the Kyrgyz foreign minister stressed that the presentation of the draft laws by members of parliament was a democratic right, and he said that the government was not favourable to these draft laws. The EU has also recalled that the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, when it granted Partners for Democracy status to the Kyrgyz Parliament early this year, expressly stated that this should not be followed up. Now, in line with the human rights guidelines of the European Union to promote and protect the enjoyment of all human rights by LGBTI persons, I will personally continue to use all possible means to warn against the risks of adopting the draft resolution, and again I will coordinate my work together with the one of Vice President Timmermans to make sure that we adopt coherent measures internally to protect the enjoyment of all human rights by all LGBTI persons also in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. We have received 6 motions for resolutions to end up this debate. The debate is closed. Thank you.